Hi, my name is Daniel Pink. Today I have a special guest. His name is Arthur Torrington from the Windrush Foundation, and going to be talking about his exhibition. You know what? Let's get straight on to Arthur. Hi Arthur, how are you?
Very good indeed.
Good. Today we're going to be talking about the exhibition that is going to be taking place, Arthur. And I'd like to hear about what is going to be happening in terms of the exhibition. What is the exhibition about?
Okay, it's called From Emancipation to Windrush. And this is an exhibition that gives you the story from 1791
Okay.
To 1971. It covers a long period of time, and it helps the people who come to see the exhibition to understand the journey of African Caribbean people who actually had that particular experience.
Yes.
Both in the West Indies, and later on we talk about Windrush.
So tell me about this exhibition, Arthur. Why do you think it's important that people should come down to this exhibition? What do you think are the real benefits of them coming down to this exhibition?
It's important for them to understand the history. The history of the presence of many West Indian people who are in this country now.
Yes.
We don't only want to talk about 1948 and a ship called Empire Windrush, but we want to give people a background.
Yes.
And that background takes the viewer, the visitor, to 1791 when there was a revolution in Haiti.
Okay.
And then we speak about Toussaint Louverture.
Yes.
We speak about what happened then when eventually Haiti declared their independence. Then we talk about the events in Barbados.
Yes.
The events in Demerara.
Okay.
And we talk about, in fact, the rebellion that happened in Jamaica with Sam Shah. So those are the first three major events that we're talking about. The three events in the West Indies, and then we talk about the revolution in Haiti.
So the Haitian Revolution seems to be something that is coming up quite often, especially around, I think you was naming Toussaint Louverture. That revolution was really a tough revolution at that time. So, tell us about the Haitian Revolution and what was going on after.
Indeed. Now, it's important for us to note that this revolution began in August 1791. And it's really important that we're living in this, well, at the moment anyway. It happened on the 23rd of August, all right? And it sparked all over Haiti.
Okay.
Right? And Toussaint Louverture was able to get his people together and to marshal men and women to overthrow the French authorities in Haiti.
And what do you think that time was really like for people at that time,
Well,
Arthur?
the whole idea is about revolution and about the abolition of slavery, right? So Toussaint was able to lead, his people into a situation whereby they could declare themselves free. So in other words, they weren't begging for freedom, they were fighting for freedom.
Wow. So this exhibition is really going to kind of go in depth in terms of really exploring and exposing the journey of African people and the whole enslavement that kind of took place. I mean, tell me about your role in all of this, Arthur.
Well, indeed, I'm the curator of the exhibition in the sense that I was able to put together text and images. What we have here in the exhibition, for example, with Toussaint, we have an image of Toussaint.
Yes.
Then when we move on to Barbados, we have different images of Barbados way back in the 1800s. At that time, 1816, when we had the Barbados Rebellion, where a gentleman by the name, an African by the name of Bussa, was able to, again, to help, his Barbadian brothers and sisters, But then that particular rebellion didn't actually succeed.
Okay.
But the point there is that we are showing that Africans were fighting to free themselves.
Yes.
They weren't begging for freedom as such. So we have images of Barbados and some of the things that were happening at the time. And then we move on to Demerara, which, as we know today, Demerara is a part of Guyana, which is a very important sort of ex-colony of the British. And we show the rebellion again in Demerara, and we show the importance of that rebellion. And then we move on after that particular rebellion, we move on to Jamaica. Now that was a major rebellion.
Okay.
And that was a rebellion that made sure that, well, at least some freedom was obtained.
Yes.
Because Sam Sharp was able again to bring men and women together, African men and women together, to protest and to ensure that their voices are heard. Right? And again, that rebellion didn't succeed in the sense that it didn't succeed as though as Toussaint Louverture was succeeded. You see, because he was able to, you know, I suppose, chase the troops, the French troops, the British troops, Spanish troops, you know, away.
Yes.
I mean, in other words, he beat them back. Whereas the rebellion in Barbados, the rebellion in Demerara, the rebellion in Jamaica, that didn't happen.
Okay.
The British troops got the upper hand.
Yes.
And it failed. But it failed, but it didn't fail in a sense, because that particular collective movement, right, forced the British to declare that let's free the Africans.
Let's free the Africans. So that's where we start to talk about the emancipation.
Yes.
And so a lot of people, in terms of the emancipation, they really, they hear the word, but what does it really mean in terms of emancipation?
That's a good point, because okay, emancipation initially would mean being free. But then somebody else actually giving you that freedom.
Yes.
You see, emancipation always has to mean that somebody has ownership of somebody else.
Yes.
Or power.
Okay.
Over somebody else, and then you give them freedom. But this is a particular set of freedom that was not just given because the British were sorry for the Africans, but it was because the Africans were going to do something about, well, you know, taking things into their own hand.
I find that interesting that you should say that the British gave them emancipation because there was something brewing amongst the Africans at that time. What was brewing, Arthur, at that time that really made Britain uncomfortable?
Look, the whole idea of freedom was important, because nobody wants to be free and to remain free for the rest of your life. And we've got to be very, very aware of the fact that Africans were enslaved from 1616, when the British went into the West Indies. Okay, they first went into Bermuda, and Bermuda, 1616, was a colony. And from what we read, you know, from the history books, Africans were taken there in 1616. And then they were taken to a place called, an island called St. Kitts and then Nevis in 1623.
Wow.
So you're looking at a long time that Africans were enslaved throughout that period. I mean, something like nearly, well, I suppose, decades, over 100 years.
Yes.
Right, from 1616, 1716, 1816. And then when you actually, so 200 plus years, and looking back.
Yes.
So in that sense, Africans were saying, well, no, we're not going to want to be enslaved, you know, anymore. We're going to take it into our own hands, no matter if we become martyrs. And that's what happened in 1834.
Wow.
That the British decided, well, look, let's give them freedom, and that was declared. And yes, freedom was given, but only part freedom.
Okay. When you say part freedom, what do you mean part freedom, Arthur?
Well, in the sense that something came in called apprenticeship.
Yes.
And that was in 1834 right on. And that went on until 1838, when again the Africans were so angry about this whole apprentice thing. I mean, apprenticeship was like a second form of slavery.
Yes.
Where they had to work like 40 hours plus for free.
Yep.
And then an extra 8 or more hours work for themselves.
Wow.
And then that's what they had to do, you see, to survive. So they protested against that apprenticeship.
That apprenticeship. Now, it's funny because from what I understand, that the reason why the apprenticeships came in, as you were talking about the Emancipation Proclamation, but what happened, the reason why that came in was because there was a big pushback in terms of Britain as a colonial ruler wanting to keep people in that kind of position. But that Emancipation Proclamation and what that really meant for the Africans, how long did that pushback come on for?
Well, it began in 1834 and went right on to 1838. Okay? It was meant to go on until 1840.
Wow.
Or maybe even longer. But the main thing there was that it had to stop because the Africans were protesting.
Yes.
Causing trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You see? And that happened in 1830. So full emancipation came in 1838. But like places like Montserrat, Bermuda,
yes,
they got their emancipation full. They didn't have any apprenticeship.
Okay.
They were a smaller colony, and therefore they still remain under the British. But the main thing there that they got what was called full emancipation. But it wasn't full because they were limited in terms of how much land, if they did get any land at all.
Yes. Well, it's funny because I've heard a little bit about the apprenticeships, and that when Britain had to give up the plantation, that they were those owners of Africans that they had enslaved on the plantation, that they were recompensed. And in part of that recompense, they brought in the apprenticeships that would then still help them.
Two things happen now. You had the enslavers who receive compensation, 20 million, all right? And then you have this particular end of apprenticeship in 1838. So really and truly, the enslavers benefited,
yes,
again, by having 20 million pounds.
Wow.
And 20 million pounds in those days would be equivalent to who knows, something like maybe 80, it could be 80 trillion.
Yes.
If you work out the economics and the investment. If you invested 20 million in 1834, it would be worth something like, what, trillions of dollars?
Yes.
Today.
And from what I understand, it's only in February 2015 that people finished paying off in Britain, through their taxes, finished off paying those slave owners.
It's a long-term loan.
So it's a real journey and a real tough time that we have gone through as African people. And so people like yourself don't stop telling the stories.
So this exhibition has something like 20 panels.
Yes.
And we would tell it, like stage by stage. Right on.
Okay.
Talking about religion, talking about how Africans had to work extremely hard to survive.
Yes.
And we have images from the major museums, like National Maritime Museum, and other museums to back up the story.
The story, yes.
Original, from original paintings.
Yes.
We have images of those.
Wow. Wow. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to popping down there and making sure that I see exactly what's going on. So I think, as we're kind of coming to a particular point in time for a break, I'm just looking forward to seeing what else you're going to be telling us and what else we can be looking forward to. So, yes, I'm certainly interested in that.